We actually have some service technicians close by you if you ever needed help. And you know, you sat in on at least one, maybe one of these so far?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Our president and vice president, the owners of the company are very open to, you know, talking to people, helping them out, do whatever. So,
Okay.
I mean, if you ever have a question, we say none of them are dumb, so please call. We're happy to help you out.
That's awesome.
You know, just a little whatever, some of
Yeah.
the rules, regulations.
Mhm.
So you were in the first one?
Yes.
Okay.
Best practices.
Yeah, so I talked about the size of the company. We are the
Yes.
biggest integrator in the
Okay.
USA now.
Okay.
And we have a regulatory group that just reads regulations all day. God bless them, I couldn't do it. We've got the engineering staff, we've got a full engineering staff.
Right.
The 45 or so service engineers that travel around to service and maintenance.
Okay.
I think we got 6 or 7 sales staff, and then, you know, the owner and co-owner and stuff like that, so.
Okay. Well, here recently, like a lot of what we're working on, we're closing our consent decree. So a lot of what I've been working on here recently is like revamping our QA/QC plans and trying to make sure that I think we have them, but I think they needed a little bit of TLC. And then also we have a new like H2S and fuel gas project that's going in 23.
Okay.
So a lot of it is just like prepping for that.
Sydney, Phil.
Yeah, nice
Pleasure,
to meet you.
likewise.
Yes.
Cool.
So I'm just, like I said, trying to dip my toes in and absorb everything that I can. I'm interested to hear about the DAHS.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I think you'll see it here in a minute, but part of what you brought up is the monitoring plan's in ours. We actually integrated into it.
Oh, wow.
So I'm trying to keep this one more general, talking about DASs in general, but there are a few places that I'm going to go off into what we do
Okay.
that may be different.
Sounds good.
Again, if you have any questions, stop me.
I will.
And I will say, I've been in the industry a long time, DAS is not my strong point.
Okay.
So I may say, you know what, Sydney, I will get you the answer.
That's okay.
I've got a group of people that are awesome. They've been doing this stuff for decades that really, really know it.
Okay.
So, you know, happy to help.
Most definitely.
All right. This one, we're supposed to start now. So if you're good with it, we can move on. Okay, again, there's 3 of us. Any questions, just stop me. If I can answer, I will. If not, I will get you an answer by the end of the day. So we're going to talk a little bit about DASs in general. Ours is the NetDAS Edge. It's net-based. I'll go into that in a little bit, but that's where the name comes from, NetDAS. So a DAS is a data acquisition and handling system. You've got process signals going into, well, let me back up. Your DAS does averaging calculations. You can data, historical data storage. It generates reports, whether it's EDRs or whatnot for the government. If you're, you know, Part 75 or Part 60 sources, you have reports, you have to submit it. Your DAS, or most DASs, should generate these reports for you. Also, in manual data entry into it or automated data entry into it, so fuel analysis, fuel flow, stuff like that. We also have a seal, which some folks use a data logger, some people use a PLC. We can use a PLC or have our own seal, as we call it, which is basically a fancy name for data recorder. So you've got your analyzers and your signals. They flow into our seal or into your PLC. Those go into the DAS, and then it flows out to your reports. I guess that's the best simplified way to say it. And I think the graphic does probably a better job than I just did trying to describe it. So sorry. For us and most others, you sign in. There's some. We have a hierarchy where the owner can get into lots of stuff. The technician can only get into some stuff. You have other people that can only go look at it. Maybe some operators, they can only go look at what's going on. They can't go in and make any changes or do anything. I'll cover more of that in a minute, but everyone that we know of is very similarly set up, that there's different hierarchy levels depending on your job title or what you're doing, what you need to be involved in. This is kind of a real-time display that we have. It just shows you what's going on. It'll show your different analyzers, your compounds of interest, your levels, all that's available. Then we have the data channels, and every single something like what you have. This is what it looks like. You know, it's got your minute average. It's going to give you probably an hourly average. It's going to tell you that things are okay, the process is okay. It'll also, every DAHS should do a minimum of 6 readings a minute. And the reason is because I believe the EPA says for opacity, you have to have 36 good readings every 6 minutes. So simple, 6 readings a minute. So 6 by 6 is 36. That's how you come up with it. Ours will do better than the 6 readings a minute. I guess at this point it doesn't matter, but there's a cushion there if something got corrupted. But like the minute that we do 6-minute rolling averages. So that's just one thing to be noted. This page, this display, the real-time display is nice because if you hover over one of those little text boxes, you see this NOx pound per hour, 3-hour rolling average, limited is 1,800, as permit conditions 11B. So the way ours is designed, if you hover over that box, it's going to say, okay, here's where you are, here's why, and here's where it says so in your permit. You do a very detailed evaluation of your permit, dig in to see what you have to have, and it's reflected here. So you don't have to know all this right here. You can hover over it, boom, there it is. And it's just part of the stuff that I think makes this very easy to work with and to deal with, and you to just not have to be knowing every single thing that's going on, because there's a lot going on in these. This one's kind of funny to me. We say this screen's old enough to vote. We've been doing this a long time. This screen's been around long enough. Quite honestly, my kid just turned 21. I think this thing can go out for if it wants to. It's been around longer, and we're telling you right here. So a lot of history, a lot involved, a lot of evolution, changes, whatnot. Obviously, we've got a team that looks at the regulations to make sure we comply with all those so that you, the end user in the end, is in compliance with what you need to be. This is the new screen. The top looks very similar, does the same thing. You can evolve to the point where if you don't like those little boxes, you can have a little bar graph, you can have a like a gauge, a needle, like a tech or something you're used to seeing in your car. And the other thing that we do with the new system is let you expand or contract each little box. If you're only concerned about box A, you make it big, prominent. If you need about 3 or 4 boxes, you size them to how you want the readout to see. So if your operator's sitting in front of this, it's quick and easy. You look up and he says, okay, here I go. You see I'm at 1611. Now, what does that mean? Again, we've got it set up. So if you hover over it, it tells you exactly what it is, and it goes back to your permit condition to tell you where that number is generated and why. Then, excuse me. Again, I mentioned the new version. So whatever type of readout you like, whether it's a digital number, the gauge, the bar, custom configure that to your likes, needs, desires. We call episodes. We use the word episode for this. A lot of the other DAHSs out there will use the word reportable. So this could be an excursion where you got over your limit or an exceedance. It could data issue, something that went bad that you have to fix or report somehow. So when these are red, lets you know something's going on. You've got to address it. You got to make sure you take care of it. If things are green on our setup, it's just life goes on. It's doing what it's supposed to, no worries right now. Then,
Last screen with a summary of the day. Because I know whenever I'm doing reports, quarterly, semi-annual, or whatever, I go and I extract the summary report for
that's over.
the analyzer.
That's over 2 days.
Okay.
You can custom configure these, and yeah, some other screens where you can go in for all your annual or quarterly reporting. I've got a couple screens on that in here. No, please. I said, please, just interrupt. That question, if you want more detail, I will have to get with the guys that do this every day. So back to alarms. These are to alert you that you're not in violation yet. You're not in an exceeding situation, just something's going on that does need addressing. It shows opacity, temperatures, all sorts of different stuff that just lets you know, hey. And the other thing that can be done from this screen, and I think most of the DAHS is out there like that, it can initiate a text message to your technician. It can initiate an email to the plant manager. You can configure this to do about whatever you want. I almost said, you can have it beep a beeper, but that just shows how old I'm getting. So we'll pretend I said that one. But that's the kind of setups you have here that lets you know you may have a pending problem. Better take a look at this now before it becomes an issue for you.
It'll automatically send back to a technician.
Yeah.
If they were to receive, let's say, level 3
Yep.
failure on a
Yep. Like if your calibrations are supposed to be, whatever, and you're not failing yet, but you're getting outside of maybe 1% or 2%, something like that. Yes, this can be set up to say, okay, email or text John over here or Bethany over here that they've got to get in there tomorrow morning and take a look, see what's going on. Yeah, it's got to be connected. So I'm going to be very careful with this question because I don't want to get it wrong. Because people are like, well, that's on the internet. Well, it is, but I can't just log into yours. You can't just log into, someone over here. I deal with security a little bit later on. There's layers of security. I'm not sure I'm supposed to say this, but anyways, we're working very diligently right now. We're almost to the last point of being NIST certified for the internet security for this stuff. So we're going to have a level of certification, if you will, NIST certification, that we've done all this, so it's very, very secure. And again, I get to a little bit more of that later on. But I have heard concern about that before, and I may not be doing the most effective job at tamping that down. If it's something I talk more about, I'll get you with the people that know it, and they can just go through all the levels of what goes on and exactly how it works and why there's no issue. Let me rephrase that. Issues are minimized in any sort of security breach the way we've done things. Okay? All right, so let's see. We're going to go into the next one, which is something you may be interested in, the calibration history. So all data acquisition systems should be able to calibration. And I believe they've got to save this data for 5 years. I can verify that for you. But if you look at the screen on the screen, the green shows it passed everything. You talked about texting or emailing somebody. When we see the yellow, you're still in calibration. Everything's still good, but it's drifted outside of the parameters you set that you're comfortable with. So maybe it's like, less than 1%. It'll turn a yellow block up that you can see very clearly. And at that point in time, it'll trigger that email or text message to whomever you put in here that, hey, tomorrow morning or later tonight, go take a look at this. We got something we need to take a look at. Yes.
levels that we're at, because we're trying to do that for
Yes.
for our certain.
Yep. Yep, absolutely. We can trend these out monthly, yearly, quarterly, different timeframes that you can select in here. The the amount of different reports that can be generated in here is amazing. And you know, we do training for our customers. We've had some customers that we call super users. These guys or girls got in here, understood it well enough that they'd write their own little reports or something. They may be doing a side project, looking at cost, maybe of ammonia injection or something. They'll pull the data here and generate a report that they can look at, trend over, whatever, or and then compare that, you know, and whatnot. So it is a very powerful program. It does all sorts of interesting things as far as the report generations. And obviously, if you're part 75, when we build this for you, all you're going to have are already in there. You're not going to be responsible for putting those in there. We set it up based on your permit that it's going to do this, this, and this, and you just basically hit the button and there it is. So as I mentioned, okay, this one kind of shows you the two little buttons up there, that Excel file right there. You just hit that and it generates the report and prints it for you. Boom, it's all done. You don't have to go in and say, here, pick these dates. It'll kind of do it all for you. We're not the only one. A lot of them do it. And, you know, you can look at CGAs. You're doing your quarterly audits, the CGAs, that stuff's in there too. So you can just hit a button, pull that stuff up, and reports that we've set up to do. Targets and timing. Mainly, this is for starting and stopping calibrations manually. Your bottle info goes in here for calibration bottles. You can set this up to sequence your daily calibrations. You want it to do it every morning at 6 o'clock, 10 o'clock, whenever you want. Set up the linearities, that kind of stuff can all be set up in these screens. The white cells are, let me see here. Yeah, if you've got targets in there, they're in there. If you don't, they're not. And you can see also the cylinder numbers. Every cylinder you have has a certain number on it. I'm going to get into some neat stuff later on with that too. They can save a lot of time and energy. That changed. Okay, good. Here we go. So this one, just another screen, talks a little bit more about the targets and timing. But this one also, part 75, I think 8 years ago, 7 or 8 years ago, they said that you had to have all the bottle info in here. So if you look in the bottom, you can see the different bottles. Up top, you can see the gas cylinder numbers, all that stuff's in there. So it does get reported the way it's supposed to be. One less thing for you guys to worry about. Cylinder management. Again, kind of as I mentioned, this is now required to be recorded. Every bottle has its own unique number. Some of the things we've done here, so you can go to this screen, you can manually input it, which can be an arduous task. You get 15 bottles of gas, other search, got to input all that data. You can do it manually. The screen is available if you want to. Sometimes if someone, they may have screwed it up, you can go in here and make changes. We also, and you can download a file right into the data acquisition system, and then they'll pre-populate all the information. They're the only one that does that now. So it's a use them. If you don't, well, we've got another option here. You can scan these. Now I know we're not the only DAHS, there's other DAHSs out there that you get like a little barcode scanner like you have at the grocery store. You just zap each bottle and boom, it automatically imports it into your DAHS. And then you can go in there when a bottle goes empty, hit the next bottle and just pulls all that information right in there for you. It's nice because it doesn't, well, you avoid making, if you may have a C bottle and a C and then a V by accident or something, and that can screw that up. So if you scan it, you don't have to worry about that. The other thing that we've seen that this eliminates is someone might put in the requested value when you order a bottle as opposed to the received. You know, when you call a gas company up, you say, hey, I need a bottle of NOx at 43 ppm or whatnot. They may say, okay, but it's really 44.2. Sorry. So we've seen where, you know, that number has gotten crossed up. So scanning it just takes that out of there. Expiration dates, all that kind of stuff. You're not making a mistake in putting those. So, and tool for this stuff, it makes your life a lot easier. You don't have to worry about it. Pull constants. Okay, these are basically manual triggers available to you. We call them pull constants. Some of the other DAHS companies call it manual trigger. You can use for calibration. If you got stat tester and you use calibrations, did some maintenance on the analyzer, you can go on the screen and trigger your calibrations. You can do blowbacks. If you got to work on your analyzers. You can also fire individual gas solenoids or just go through cal. I mentioned the cal. You can go in and fire your daily cal whenever you want. Or if you're just working on the NOx analyzer, the SO2, you can go trigger that one solenoid for the one cal gas for that one analyzer. So it gives you the option to fire whatever you need to, or blowback. You know, if you had an upset at the plant, you generate a particulate, you might want to go in and hit a button to give blowback. At the same time, it'll let the system know not to grab that data, because when you're doing blowback, the data is invalid, not real data. Hour details. This is kind of what you were talking about, looking at the trending stuff. This one tells you what is going to the EPA. So all this stuff here is going to go to the EPA. If you via the EDR, Part 75 is in quarterly. So if you look at the bottom of that, you're going to see April, May, and June. So there's a quarter. You look at the green, it's offline. You weren't running that. So there's really no data. There are that were required. The white is when you're running. All the data is good. The yellow, which there's a couple of lines on there if you look closely, that's data that had to be substituted in there. And then missing data would be in the top in red. For this time frame that we pulled up, there was no missing data, so you don't see anything there. So it's really good. You can look at it, the detailed stuff on the top, or you can take a quick glance across the bottom at the graph and say, okay, there's nothing I need to worry about, and move on. This next one is the edge hours, as we call it, is more for Part 60 stuff. The last screen is the Part 75 stuff. This is more for the Part 60 stuff. In here, it'll show you calibrations, calculations, all that stuff that are different can be found here. The other thing with this software package that we offer, you don't need another software package to generate your reports, your EDRs, any stuff like that. All that stuff is in here. So I know some of the other DAHS out there, you have to buy a secondary source from someone else to generate the reports. This is all done through here. More specifically, you know, I could put you in touch with someone to talk to about that, or, you know, doing a little digging yourself, I'm sure you can find out. I can't tell you specifically myself, but.
No, whenever you're saying it generates your EDR, you're talking about down, like values or like substitute level or something like that. Return.
I don't think, so I'm going to tell you, I'm not positive right now, but I don't think it's going to do data substitution for you. But yes, it will do the calculation of the reports for you.
Because I believe we have a different DAHS that we manually, it's another program in order to generate your EDR.
Okay, this does all that for you. Next slide, the reports. Oh, that's the emissions detail that gets sent to the EPA once a quarter. So we're talking about the reports. You seem to have some interest in those. Hourly reports, daily report, yearly reports, customizable reports for internal use, kind of like I touched on earlier. If you had some special little project you were doing, looking at cost of something else, that this data goes into here, you can use this to develop those reports. Most of this is going to come preset in here. We do work with customers if they're not well versed, they haven't had a lot of experience with it yet, to help them write reports. Or, as I mentioned, we've had some customers who have been with us many, many years. There are super users. They're familiar enough, they generate their own reports. So, once you own this, it's a relatively open book, if you will. You can go, obviously, with the right clearances, go make changes where you need to, or generate reports and whatnot. If you've got a RADA team and they're doing a RADA, we'll generate the 1-minute reports for that time when you're doing it, so you can compare your numbers, make sure you're in compliance. So that's one of the other stuff it'll do. And there's more. Canned reports. A lot of other DAHS companies call this their electronic log. This gives you all sorts of information: who logs in, when they log in, they made changes, and then there's little codes they have to put in there to say why they made the changes. Maybe the analyzer went down or something. It's hard to say, but all that stuff's in there. So you can't just have someone blindly go in here and make a bunch of changes and sign out and you don't know who. You have to log in. Who you are is detailed, recorded, what they did. I mean, it even blocks out the cells that they messed with. So all that's very, open. It looks gluten versus load, span evaluation. So like over a year, if you're spanning 0 to 100 and you're down seeing 0 to 20 ppm all year, it can take a look at that and tell you if you're really in the appropriate span, stuff like that. And then, Sydney, I think you're going to like this page. The monitoring plan. That this software has been developed, we actually have your monitoring plan kind of embedded in this. So this thing will tell you or guide you so you don't miss any QA. If you've got a RADA coming up and you didn't do it yet, it'll send you a reminder. I think it's on the next slide. On the search slide, it talks a little more. Hang on. Yes. So it'll say, hey, you missed your quarterly, or your quarterly's coming up in a week. It'll let you know if you missed a daily. It'll remind you that you got to do this stuff. And it's all based on your monitoring plan. So that's why it's in there. And this is something that we've seen a lot of our customers really, really like, because it's just one of those blind reminders. I mean, I'm sure you guys are working like crazy, probably somewhat understaffed like everyone is these days. So a little reminder in the background, just say, oh, by the way, this will do it for you, or does it for you. So it's kind of a neat little option. RADA quarterly, due dates is upcoming, that kind of stuff.
We haven't third parties making back their RADAs and CGAs and linearities and things like that. Data here?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. I don't know exactly how you do it, but I know you can do it. So I can get that question answered for you if you want to dig deeper. And then the next one, the security. I mean, every DAHS company has security levels. This can't be just open. Ours, well, part of the deal with this is, and I mentioned the NIST certification we should have shortly, that maybe I shouldn't have said anything about, but anyways, here we are. Cyber hacking is a big issue. You're seeing it everywhere. I mean, if you remember a couple months back on the East Coast, gasoline pipeline company shut them down. So this is something that we know, and this is quote unquote critical infrastructure that we're in. So the levels of security and whatnot are very, very high here. These kind of companies, power refineries, they seem to be a target that these whomever are doing. So we spend a lot of time and money taking care of this, making sure it doesn't happen. The login info I talked about, when you log in, it says who you are, where, there's the level of, I'll use importance or whatever. If you're the plant manager, you can do this. The technician can only do this. First, they can probably look at it, be quiet, some alarms or something like that. But basically that level of importance dictates how deep you can go into this stuff. Make sense? Okay.
You know, like, a lot of what we're doing right now is working like cybersecurity containment in the case that we have a network outage.
Mm-hmm.
And right now we've got like our DAHS operates like on a level 3.
Okay.
Where our process guys are, and I log into that, and if my network is there, a way that we can get that where this database is at.
Yes. So I'm glad you brought that up because that's a point I did not touch on. And again, I'm not the super expert on this, so I'll tell you what I know. Basically, that second page where it showed our seal controller, I said that's kind of like a PLC or a data logger. That constantly gets data from all your analyzers and your other inputs in the plant. That can store at a minimum a month and sometimes up to a year of data for you, depending on how many inputs there are. Then that kicks it up to the itself. So if your network goes down for 2 weeks, obviously everyone's going to be freaking out, but the seal will have over a month worth of data in there. So you've got backup time. And, you know, not hacking, but we've had customers have had their servers die. And we're like, this is fine, relax. It's all over here. We'll double team it, triple team it, whatever. Get new network computer built up for them, shipped over to them, put it in, get them back online. Then all that data from the seal, boom, right up into the DAHS. And then it's all there for next quarter when you have to generate all those reports. So, we have multiple ways to contact us. There's 800 numbers. There's our quote unquote Zen desk where if you've got a low priority issue, you want maybe a change to report, you can log in, send what you want and kick it off to us. Other things to consider, storage, you know, like you said, that seal will store between a month and a year. The DAHS itself, at a minimum, will do 5 years because that's required by law. Another thing that you want to consider, and I think you can on a little bit, Sydney, how you interact with other systems, whether it's a plant DCS, some other software you may have to use for generating reports or whatnot. You know, all the report generation is done within our system, so we don't have to worry about that software do that stuff. Never had an issue with someone's DCS or anything. I mean, the way this is designed, it's got to be seamless with the plant and whatnot. So that's pretty much the coverage I've got here. If you have any interest in, let me know. I've got a couple other slides with question and answers, very specific to our DAHS. Again, I don't know if that's anything you have any interest in, but we can do that if you'd like. So. That one. Yes. You want to take a picture of it? Go ahead. Okay. Okay. Did you give me one of your cards? Do you have? Okay, perfect.
I do have yours.
Okay. Perfect. So, any other questions? Beautiful. All right. Well, good. I appreciate it, guys. Like I said, I'm really not a big expert on a data acquisition system. So, if you want more details, definitely can touch me and I'll get you the folks that have all the answers. Got a lot of super smart people that have been working on this stuff for a long time. You know, I mean, quite honestly, CEMTEK as a whole is a great company. A lot of people have been here for decades. So there's a lot of experience embedded in the company on all aspects. DAHS, one of my favorite people who normally kind of goes out and does this talk or similar talk, he's been with the company, I don't know, 20 some odd years. He's been involved in all aspects of it. When I have a problem, or if I've actually, honestly, I was on the phone with him this morning saying, hey, let's run over some of the stuff just so I'm making sure I'm heading in the right direction. But they've got some really wonderful people that work with this stuff. And not just inside, on the CEMS side in general. I work very, very closely with the vice president. He and I have been out doing sales work. We'll be out late eating dinner, having a beer or two, and the phone rings and he'll answer it to help people out. So, I mean, it's a level of dedication and wanting to help your customers I've never seen before at another company. It's really refreshing. I've been other places in my past, and I just really, really like this company. You leaving me?
I am. I
Oh,
gotta
man.
go to the Elon world. Thank you very much.
No, thank you, Sydney. Have a great day. Ah, okay. Really? And you're with whom again? Oh, okay. We do some work with some of your facilities. Yes. I don't know. I think they're on the West Coast, and I'm the East Coast guy, so I'm not really, but I know I've heard some of my coworkers mention Invista before, so.
Yeah, I'm a site guy.
Where's that? Victoria, Texas? Okay. You guys have facilities all over the place. Yeah. Yeah. Could be worse. I drove to Kentucky last week from home. That was eight hours or so. Did a little conference for a couple of days, drove back home. I was actually considering driving here. No, from Raleigh, but it was 20 hours. And I said, yeah, no. Yeah. I just have not really wanted to fly since this whole mess has been going on. I mean, you turn on the TV and you see all the rowdy people on airplanes. I'm like, I don't want to deal with that. Yeah. Yep. But it was an eventless flight, so it was perfect. Yes. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, we can do up to 8. And, you know, I'm going to talk more about the ammonia injection and that kind of stuff. But, you know, if you've got a grid 4 and 4 this way and you're trying to tune it, you can really get down to the nuts and bolts of where you're having your issue. And I haven't mentioned it yet. The other thing with these lasers we're seeing, you know, I mentioned the moisture thing that we always give you along with whatever compound you're looking at. If you've got a boiler tube that's starting to leak, the moisture going up. So we're like, you know, your NOx or your ammonia, whichever one you're looking at, has been steady, but your O2 is starting to head up like this. You better check. You probably got a tube leak somewhere. It's just one of the benefits that we didn't think about when we started going on this road with all this TDL stuff. You know? Yeah.
It's gonna take a long time. Good stuff.
Yeah, it sure is. Yep. How long you been with Invista?
Just hit 20 right
Oh, congratulations. How are you? Still working like a champ. Yeah, I'm gonna stand up for a minute.
Yeah, it's sitting there for a while.
Yeah,